Well, hello, hello. This is Karin Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to LMP Music. Whatever the music, whatever the tune, we're here to learn, discuss, and promote the independent music scene. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes as Shugo Hanasaki tackles the music industry one artist at a time.
Welcome back to the music side of Lotus Moon Productions. It's almost halfway into March, which means we're just under 2 weeks until spring. The warm weather is coming. Despite my Canadian nature, I am not a fan of winter, let me tell you. Perhaps I'm in the wrong country. But it is an elegant seasonal system we have in Canada, which is a blessing in itself, experiencing the 4 seasons in all of their beauty. One place I can tell you, though, that is warmer right now than the temperatures outside is my guest of the hour's debut album entitled Lost Summer. It's been hot since its release since January, and it's an instrumental journey that any synthwave needs to listen to. Sorry, any synthwave fan needs to listen to. Those memories from your childhood, the bike rides, after-school hangouts, sleepovers, etc., all of the feelings of that break between school years are contained in this wonderful album. So without further ado, please let me introduce Belgian producer Herman from the Future Kids. How's it going, Dave, man?
Hi. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, me too. It's great. Yeah, it's been a long time, since we planned this. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you've been the album of Lost Summer has been really doing well for itself, and as I said in the introduction, it's just it's such a beautiful album to listen to from start to finish. It gives you all the perfect feelings of nostalgia and childhood. It's absolutely incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. That was the feeling I was going for. So I'm happy you and others picked up on that.
Absolutely. Now, before we dive into that wonderful Lost Summer album and the synthwave side of things, at the start of my interviews, I love hearing about the inspirations and motivations behind each artist. I mean, one thing you mentioned to me off air was that you started creating music in the hip hop genre and then transitioned into synthwave, which is pretty damn cool. I mean, could you tell me about your inspirations into the hip hop genre? I mean, it's quite catchy.
Yeah, well, it's true as you say. I started making music. Well, actually, I was a turntablist at first. I know it sounds weird. I was just really into hip hop when I was 14, 15 years old. And I bought 2 record players and a mix desk, to make hip hop and scratch and do stuff like that. So that's how I got into making music, because I had friends and we were always thinking, why don't we record our own songs? And it just grew from there when I was young.
That's really cool. I mean, one of the hip hop artists of the '80s that come back to mind for me is Salt and Peppa. But what inspirations did you have? What hip hop artists did you like back then?
Yeah, well, it was more early '90s, so we were into Wu-Tang and all the old school, all the old school hip hop artists. Mos Def and Common and all of those.
Love it, man. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Talib Kweli and
Cool. Now moving into the synthwave side of things, what inspired you to transition into such a different genre? I mean, what or who were your inspirations and why the transition into synthwave? I mean, I imagine you have some inspiration from the 80s, but were there inspirations from the modern day synth artists as well?
I started getting into synthesizers. Of course, I was playing around with synthesizer sounds when I was doing hip hop, but I really got into it when I discovered when Daft Punk started. That was around when they got onto MTV and stuff. It was 97 or something, 96, 97. So that kind of opened up my eyes, and the whole French touch wave came, and by '98 you had Moon Safari by Air that just came out, and that for me was an eye opener, because they had a really warm sound, and they made it almost completely with analog equipment. analog synthesizers and electric pianos, and that's really when I started to collect synthesizers. Yeah, when I really started to get into that.
Now, speaking about collecting synthesizers and talking
Yeah,
about music equipment, in the last few podcasts, I've started hearing about music equipment and what type of synthesizers my guests
yeah,
use to create their music. And since we're on that topic, I wanted to bring up what you mentioned off air about having a room full of vintage synths that you collected from roughly the age of 16. I thought that was cool. I really did. I thought that was radical. You know, while I'm ignorant to a lot of musical equipment
yeah.
and what they're capable of, I know my audience would love to hear all about it, and so would I. Could you share about that?
Yeah, well, actually, I got off to a little bit of a rough start because, yeah, we are 96 or 97 when I started to buy synthesizers, and yeah, the internet was rather small, and you didn't have all the things you have now. I mean, I couldn't post onto a Facebook group what to buy because there was no Facebook. So I just went on to eBay because I really liked the string sound Air used on their record, and it came from Solina String Ensemble, which is a little infamous in like the people that are into old school electronic music, like Jean-Michel Jarre. You know him, right? Jean-Michel Jarre.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah. So he also used it a lot, and I went on to eBay, which at that time was like the only place I could really turn to search for equipment, and I saw a Solina string for sale, and it was actually sold by the keyboard player of the Buggles. They had a hit with "Video Killed the Radio Star."
Yes, yes,
And it
absolutely love
was
that song.
it was the first video clip played on MTV, and the synthesizer, the Solina string, was in that video clip.
Okay, I did
Yeah,
not know that. That's really cool.
yeah. If you look at the clip, you'll see he has a Yamaha CP80 piano and some modular synths on the stage where they were filming, and also the Solina string. So I actually bought that one off of eBay, and he sent it to me from, I think, Wales or something. He was living in Wales. But actually, when it got to me, it was absolutely busted. The synth.
Oh,
It was just cracked open and just in a horrible condition. I don't know if it was a transporter or him selling me something that was no good. But yeah, that was the first experience I had buying synthesizers. And from that moment, I said, okay, I'm not going to have another synthesizer shipped to me. I'm just going to go and buy them myself. And that's when my dad got the assignment to drive me everywhere to buy synthesizers.
I mean, I'm sorry to hear about it receiving,
No,
coming in that condition, but I mean, it's just so cool to hear that you had a room full of synthesizers that you started
yeah,
collecting at such a young age.
I just started buying them in mainly Holland, because at that time there was a lot of synthesizers for sale in Holland, and the prices were lower than Belgium or France. So I was mainly going to Holland to buy synthesizers. Um, but I've been thinking about this a little, and yeah, at a certain point, I was just more I was just more focused on getting a new synth instead of really making music. It was more like an obsession to me, or the most how do you say, just to have the best synthesizers around, just to get the deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And before we spoke about music equipment, there you mentioned Daft Punk, and I just wanted to quickly shout out, their career coming to an end because, as you mentioned, I mean, a lot of us were inspired from Daft Punk from many avenues. So definitely a quick shout out to them, and I mean, they definitely inspired you.
Yeah, and I think in a way they also are the spark for synthwave in a way. They're
Yeah.
obviously not directly, but I think the whole French touch movement started with them, and that's also what sparked the synthwave movement.
Yeah,
Ultimately.
there's definitely a discussion for that as well, and I can definitely see that because I mean Daft
Yeah,
Punk has inspired
yeah,
so many types of different electronic music, but synthwave, yeah,
yeah.
I can
Because
definitely see that.
yeah, it's funny because I was really into Air, and they founded a label called Record Makers, and at the time I was really following them on MySpace, which was like the place to be, um, and that's where they were promoting Kavinsky, because they were a really small label, and that's where I was one of the first maybe to hear him. That's because that all came from the French Touch movement.
A shout out to MySpace to all the 90 kids out there.
Yeah,
Oh, MySpace, you'll never be
yeah.
forgotten.
No, no, it was cool, but in the end, yeah, it's obsolete now.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, I know with synthwave, and there's so many different genres about it, but with
Mm.
you make dreamwave, and I was wondering if you could get more specific, and could you explain to the audience who are unfamiliar with a little bit of the different genres of synthwave
Yeah.
about what dreamwave exactly is, and if you'll be experimenting with other forms of synthwave in the future.
Well, I'm not sure I'm the best person to explain all that, but I feel like Dreamwave, like it says, it's like a dreamy atmosphere you are trying to create, and because we are synthwave, we are in synthwave, it's like a little bit of a nostalgic recreation of the 80s. I think that's mainly what Dreamwave is. Um, and of course, yeah, Synthwave has gotten so branched out. I'm not even sure if I know all the different subgenres. But obviously, you have dark wave, which is like the more dark side. You have chill wave, which apparently I am in a little as well. That's the more chilled out branch of synthwave. And yeah, I think that are some of the most important ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dreamwave is one of those genres that just give you all those nostalgic feelings that we spoke about before.
Sometimes it's hard to say which song goes in what category. But in the end, I'm mainly focused on Dreamwave. It's also the music I started with, and the music I love to hear. So as you asked if I was going into another direction, maybe at the moment I'm just staying with Dreamwave.
Nice, nice. Well, I look forward to more Dreamwave from you. And I have to ask now, before we dive into your music career,
Yeah,
where did the name The Future Kids come from? I mean, I love it. It's synthy, it's nostalgic,
yeah,
it's innocent, but it's powerful all at the same time.
yeah. Well, actually, my name, my the name I came up with originally. Well, I started with Synth Kid or something. That was my first one, and then there are some graffitis around where I'm at, and it says we are the lost kids, um, and I'm not sure where it exactly came from, but I'm thinking it's like a youthful generation that's feeling a little bit lost, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I like that. The Lost
yeah.
Kids. That sounds good.
Yeah,
I really like
Lost
that.
Kids, yeah, but the problem with that was there are really a lot of bands that are already called the Lost Kids. So I had a bit of a problem. I tried to release a song myself on Spotify and other platforms, and I couldn't. Well, there was a problem. My song was being listed with another band. So that's when I saw, okay, I need to change my name.
Well, it definitely gave birth
Yeah,
to something more unique, I think, because the Future Kids in itself, like I said, it's
yeah,
powerful, it's innocent, it's
yeah.
amazing.
Well, I on my SoundCloud page, I was talking about how synthwave is maybe our envisionment of what the future should have been, looking back from how we were as kids. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like an idolized future, synthwave. It's like a utopian world in a way. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, I can just take the future kids, and I thought it sounded better even. So yeah, I was happy with that.
The funny thing about synthwave and its genre is that it doesn't make sense, but it does, because as I've discussed this with previous artists, like
Yeah.
there are bands out there, and I mean I've mentioned the Midnight, and I've mentioned a few other bands as well, where you listen to a track, actually even Lost Summer, when I was listening through Lost Summer, I was getting nostalgic feelings that I had not, like, I was getting memories, of course, from my childhood, but at the same time I was feeling memories that I don't think I experienced before.
Yeah, I said this in a previous podcast. I still can't understand where synthwave came from and why it's possible it can exist, because how can music, I've never experienced this with any other kind of music, how can it make you feel like this, what's making this possible? I still don't understand. Maybe we need to do some research on this, but it's definitely a unique feeling.
It really, really is. And I mean, before we dive into Lost Summer, there was one track that I wanted to just ask you about before we dive into the entire the entire enterprise of Lost Summer. But it was the Cyber Opus 1.
Yeah.
That was featured on your SoundCloud page, which I highly suggest people go check out. But getting back to the track, it brings a completely different feeling from Lost Summer, which I love. It shows how vast your creative spark can be. I mean, this track felt more futuristic, more sci-fi.
Yeah.
Will there be a follow-up to that track, like a full instrumental album similar to Lost Summer? I mean, you mentioned Time Cop 1983 gave you some inspiration, and that the track was just a demo, but it sounds solid, and definitely shout out to Time Cop 1983 as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, that track was really the first track I made, because I had a bit of I had a gap between when I decided to stop buying and collecting synthesizers, and when I started music. Well, I never really stopped, but I did stop with synthesizers. So that was 2019 when I started again. And I was just experimenting with I hadn't used a digital synthesizer before, so I was just kind of experimenting with layers and sound design, and that's when I made that track. And I'm on the Dutch synth forum I've been there for a long time, and Time Cop is on there as well. So I sent him a message and I asked him, hey, could you listen to my track? I didn't really expect him to listen or answer, but actually he did listen and he liked it, and he liked it on his SoundCloud as well. So that kind of brought people into my SoundCloud. So I'm really grateful he did that for me. But yeah, it's I don't know if it's really inspired by anything specifically, this song, but like you say, it was more like a futuristic sound I was going for, and I might follow it up because I'm working on new material at the moment, but the direction is still undecided. So it might be in that direction.
That's incredible, man. The fact that Time Cop 1983 did that. I mean, that feeling of being recognized by someone that you respect so much is incredible.
Yeah, and it gave me the drive, actually, because when he sent that to me, I was still like, okay, I like it, but I don't know, I don't really know if I'm going to really pursue it. But that kind of gave me energy or hope that yeah, maybe I can follow this through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love that. I love that inspiration. I love that motivation, and I love how one artist can help out another artist, or even any idols around. And I mean, the dream for me is to, one of those artists that I dream about coming on the
Yeah.
podcast is Time Cop 1983. So if
Okay.
he ever listens, I would love to speak to you.
Yeah. Well, you can
Now,
ask him.
yeah. He's an incredible artist. He's an incredible artist. And to
Yeah.
anybody who's never heard of Time Cop 1983, please go check out his music.
I've been thinking about this because I really respect him a lot, and I don't really idolize people a lot, but I just feel, and this is maybe synthwave in general, I feel like they are really underappreciated. Of course, not within synthwave itself, but I'm always thinking like, why are how should I? People are always so humble and down to earth in synthwave, but sometimes you need to be more bold. Um, and this is also an aspect. A lot of synthwave producers, they are proud of doing everything themselves. Promotion and producing and getting their music out there. But why aren't there any synthwave artists signed to major labels? Because I can't wrap my head around it because they are so popular. But it's not going global. Going
Y-
massively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it should they should get recognition.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many synthwave artists out there who I'm baffled. I'm baffled just by the
Yeah.
fact that they're not
Yeah.
like, you look at some artists online and they have millions of followers, but
Yeah.
I guess that's what makes something special about synthwave. And I mean, I'm sure it'll blow up one of these days. And I mean, we have artists like The Weeknd and David Guetta, touching base in synthwave now,
Yeah.
so that might spread the word around more, but um even then, it's a special genre that needs to be heard because it unlocks feelings inside people that they don't even know they have. And like we mentioned, and let's dive into Lost Summer now.
Yeah.
And with the debut album, we're definitely going to be sharing some track previews like I have in previous podcasts. But before we do, I wanted to touch on the inspiration behind the album as a whole. Now, Outland Records described it as a dreamwave album that is jammed with lush cinematic synths, massaged with 80s beats and beautiful melodies, and I couldn't agree more. They
Yeah.
go on to describe it as a dreamy and nostalgic cruise down memory lane with your high school buddies, which brings me to my question. The feeling of the album is there, but what inspired such a nostalgic album slash story?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm having this at this very moment while I'm preparing for new music. I just have like an idea in my head of what my music should sound like. I can't really explain it or I can't tell it's this or that. But it's just a lot of loops I'm creating, um, uh, um, patches I'm making on synthesizers and melody lines, and I just go through a whole phase. It took like 5 or 6 months, and when I made the first song for the album, it was never really meant to be an album at first, but I made the first song, and that was Purple City Night, and that was for me. It clicked with me, and I said, "Okay, this is really me. This is what the sound I was looking for." But it's more like a feeling I had. It's not an inspiration from another artist or another song. It's just like a feeling I have in my mind.
For sure, yeah. Now, the first track I wanted to showcase and speak about was Purple City Night. And to
Yeah.
those who know me,
Yeah.
no, it's not because purple's my favorite color. I mean, okay, it's a little, just a little, but I truly do love the track. So before we dive into the track, here's a 45-second clip of Purple City Night by the Future Kids off the new debut album Lost Summer. Now that track is incredibly relaxing and it reminds me of going home. And what I mean by that is I can picture myself with that sun setting. I just finished hanging out with my friends for the day and that peaceful time that is there from between you and home washes over you like you're almost like a child between the ages of 8 and 12. You're on your way home, taking in the entire day that you experience. At least that's my point of view. But as we know, perceptions can change when it comes to songs and tracks and instrumentals. So I have to ask, was there a story behind Purple City Night specifically?
Um, I mean, like I said, it was the first song I created that was really the direction I was hoping to go, and obviously I wanted to be very dreamy, and I had made a few tracks previously that were also in the kind of the same direction, but like you say, it's like romanticized feeling I wanted to create, and as dreamy as I could. So keep it really simple because that's a bit my history with hip hop. Those are all kind of simplified beats. So I wanted to mix that into a synthwave track.
Nice. That's really cool. And it's amazing how I can just even feel those feelings. I get those feelings of coming home, and like again, like I can sit back and I can imagine myself being that age again and seeing the sunset, after a good bike ride or after a good hangout. You're on
Yeah,
your way
yeah,
home, coming home, and it's
yeah.
you have that yellow pinkish glow, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. That was probably the kind of the nostalgic feeling behind it, because I'm also a dad now, and my kid is growing up. And honestly, I don't think I could have made this music 10 or 15 years ago. I feel I had to go through a process, and I also moved, and and the songs were also written in summer. So I think those elements all connected into the music.
That's incredible. I love hearing stuff like that. I love it. Certain things happen in our lives that inspire us that we weren't able to do years ago. And I mean, having a kid and then watching them grow up and
Yeah,
seeing these memories come to life is just, it's absolutely amazing.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. And maybe it's a little weird because the music was also written when the virus hit. Because I started on the songs in maybe May or April from last year. So because people were commenting on how it's like a perfect thing to listen to when you're in lockdown or not feeling very well, and yeah, maybe that's what also an element that's in there.
Speaking of the lockdown too, and I've spoken about this with many artists as well. How has the pandemic treated you and your family? How have you coped during this last year?
Well, obviously, at first, not so well. We were just like everyone, I think. But I did see it coming in January, when the Chinese stuff got onto the news and they were building emergency hospitals, and I was like, why is nobody caring about this? And then there was the Wuhan nurse that was trying to warn us. So I kind of saw it coming. I was stocking up on food and masks, and I kind of saw it coming. So it wasn't a surprise to me. But all in all, we could work from our house, and we are raising our son at home. So for us, really, there was no really big change actually.
Well, it's good that you're prepared. I mean, you're the friend that everybody needs.
Yeah, no, but I was telling people about this, but yeah, they were just like, yeah, it will be okay, but yeah,
Now,
it,
getting back to last summer, I know
yeah,
it's your debut album, and I can't imagine how much creativity you have just waiting on the back burner to be released. But I have to ask for all the synth lovers out there, because I know a lot of us are wondering, who would you love to collaborate with within the synthwave community? I mean, I can think of a few that would create magic with you, but I'd love to hear if there were any future collaborations you would love to do.
I'm not so good at collaborations actually. I'm more like a do everything myself guy. But this I when I made the album, I was contemplating, would I ask a vocalist, a singer to collaborate on the album, but I kind of dismissed it because it would bring a lot of complex stuff into the producing of the album, and because I hadn't done anything for a long time, I just wanted to focus on my music first, just instrumental music. But yeah, if I wanted to collaborate with someone, it would be a singer, I think.
Any
have someone
singers in mind?
Yeah, of course, Dana, Jean Phoenix, and Jazz Dali are the people that jump into my mind, but they're very busy people, so I don't know. I'm waiting for the right connection. I'm having some contacts with some people, and maybe something will grow out of that. But I want it to be more organic, not forced.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I did speak back with I did speak to Dana Jean Phoenix back in episode 10, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And thank you. And her track there with Megawave with Power Nerd, that was different than what Power Nerd usually releases. It had more of that, again, and that nostalgic, dreamy feel.
Yeah.
And I think, Dana Jean Phoenix's voice on your tracks, I think, would be incredible. I think she'd be able to bring more of that nostalgic energy out of that dreamwave scenario, that dreamwave genre. I think Dana would be absolutely. I think she would do it. I mean, I can't speak for Dana, but I mean, I think she would. I think she would smash it. I really do. I think you guys would knock a track out of this world.
Yeah, for sure. We could try, but at the same time, I'm a little fearful of like copying other people, and I know Time Cop really amazing tracks with her, and I just don't want to be, I just have a feeling I would be going into the same direction as their tracks, and I wouldn't want to, copy anyone or feel like people would think I was trying to continue on their success,
I honestly don't think that you would be. I mean, imagine you and Time Cop doing a collaborating together. One amazing nostalgic instrumental, and then Dana Jean Phoenix can come in there and do a vocal on it. So I mean, if you and Time Cop did one together, or like even maybe like, I'm not sure if you've heard of Electric Youth.
Yeah, but, sure.
Yeah, I think Electric Youth and Future Kids could do something amazing. Almost the Future Youth.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. But yeah, I'm like I said, I wasn't actually planning on releasing anything on a bigger scale. It just came all naturally, and now I'm here. I'm open to anything. So I did exchange a few words with Dana Jean Phoenix, but it was more like a friendly talk. So we're in contact, but we'll see.
Well, that's really cool. Well, I do hope that you guys get together and make something, because I think that would be absolutely incredible. Like getting back to Lost Summer, the second track that I wanted to share was Midnight Drive. So before I do, we'll share a 45-second clip of it, and then we'll dive into the background of it. How's that sound?
Great.
All right. Here is a 45-second clip of Midnight Drive off the EP Lost Summer by the Future Kids. Now, despite a lot of the album bringing nostalgic feelings towards after-school adventures in the summer, this track made me feel like I was back in my bedroom as an adolescent, exploring the internet on a warm summer night after a great day of hanging with friends and metaphorically having a midnight drive online. The sirens you hear at the beginning bring that even more to life because I could hear them at times outside my own bedroom window. What was the feeling of this track that you wanted to share with your audience?
That's a good question. I think this song actually evolved a little out of Purple City Night, but as you are saying, it's a little more of a mature song, maybe a little more aggressive. So I just wanted to have a song with a little more energy as well, and my inspiration for those tracks are actually Marvel 83, because he's really an amazing producer, and I was listening a lot to his music before I was beginning the production of the album. I was really into his music a lot, so that's also where some of the inspiration came from.
That's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. And I mean, you're not the only person recently who has made a song. And again, I don't mean to mention the Midnight again like a complete fanboy. But they released Deep Blue there last year. And despite the lyrics talking about going out to a bar and having a drink and such, and meeting a one-night stand, essentially, the song itself and the feelings I got from it were, again, that feeling of being 10, 12, 13 years old, being laid up at night on summer vacation and just going through the internet, having nothing but a blue screen in front of me, the lights all off, me, wrapped up in a blanket, just surfing the internet, feeling free, and the internet's changed so much. But that song Midnight Drive and the song Deep Blue, those two songs really brought out those feelings of nostalgia from that era. So I mean, I have to thank you for that, because those are some of the greatest memories of my life.
Oh yeah. You're welcome. And like I said, sometimes I don't know where it's coming from. I was watching an interview recently with I'm a fanboy of Air myself, with one of the producers, Nicolas Godin. And he was talking about being in trance when he was producing an album. It's like you're not in control anymore. It's just something that's happening, and that's all. And this is a story that keeps coming back. I keep hearing this from other producers. When you're producing a good track, you are finishing it in like 5 or 6 hours. So that's also what happened to me with most of the tracks on the album.
I really, really like that. And inspiration can just kind of take you on a journey itself. You get one idea, and then you jump to the next idea, and then all of a sudden you give birth to something, and it's just whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, and in retrospect, it's hard to imagine how I made the album. I'm listening to it, and yeah, sometimes that's funny.
Now, the final track I wanted to share was the album title track. If that's okay with you, I'd love to share a track preview of it, and then we can kind of dive into it.
Yeah, perfect.
Sweet. All right. Here is the title track of the debut EP by the Future Kids, Lost Summer. Now, it's at the end of the album. The feelings are there. I can understand the adventure with friends, as it makes me feel like we're doing it all over again, the Song of Lost Summer, in a positive way. As in
Yeah.
halfway through the album, the night came to a close, that exciting day has ended. But this track, Lost Summer, gives birth to a new day, new experiences, new friendships. That's how it feels to me. Like it feels like, that day has come to an end, but now a new day is beginning. So it's almost like, it's summer vacation weekend one, and then you have a fantastic weekend with your friend
Yeah.
or friends, and then the next weekend is here, and it's like Lost Summer repeats that all over again. So could you tell me what inspired the sounds behind this song? I mean, I know it might be difficult to remember at times, but and again, it's crazy how one artist can release one song and so many people can get different feelings.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I'm really an album person. I never listen to playlists or like singles, or I'm really into the feeling and the continuation of songs an album gives you. So that was my main goal with the song was kind of tying all the album together. Made out of two parts, as well as the first song. So I'm just like doing this kind of open mind composition. I'm trying to keep an open mind and just letting the song talk for itself. If you get what I mean. So I'm not trying to restrict it to or conform it to what a song should be like.
Well, I do hope the feelings that I'm speaking about come across in the 45-second clips, because there's only so much feeling you can get from such a small clip. But at the same time, everyone get out there and go listen to the Feature Kids, because the debut album, debut EP, Lost Summer, it's absolutely fantastic, and it will bring you on a nostalgic journey, just as Outland Records described. Now, with about 10 minutes left in the podcast, I've started discussing who the artist is outside of their music. And I think I'm going to keep it in the podcast, because it's wonderful to hear who an artist is outside of the music industry, because we all love certain things. We all have our own personal care. We exercise. You have TV shows. You got movies, favorite food. So I have to ask. I mean, you don't have to answer on everything,
No.
but I'm sure the audience would love to know. What sort of hobbies, interests, anything that you love to do outside of the music world.
Yeah. Well, my biggest hobby outside of Synthwave, because that's literally taken over my life. But besides that, I'm a surfer.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So I've been surfing for a long time. I even used to make surfboards myself. I kind of invented my own production method for surfboards. So yeah, I really like to do that. I surf anything I can get my hands on. So I surf longboards, shortboards, any kind of board. Yeah.
That is really, really cool. I did not expect to hear that you're a surfer. That's really, really cool. Like
Yeah.
I've never been able to do it. I don't think I ever could, but the fact that you can ride some serious waves, that's really cool.
Yeah, and in a way, maybe it's not the same feeling as a synthwave, of course, but I feel like you have the cat situation. Like cats and synthwave are a little connected. I feel the same thing goes for surfing, because it's also a feeling of freedom, and I really think those two go really well together.
Absolutely. I mean, I can already picture it now. I can see the Future Kids are now releasing a second album based off, like, the tropical beach kind of sunny weather, surfing in the water, hearing the children laughter in the background. Like, I mean, you could make a whole album just having a surfer day, like that's it sounds like it's already written with what you love. I mean, how did surfing come into play?
Well, I went to Australia when I was, I think, in university, and I just picked it up there. and I came back to Belgium. Of course, Belgium is not really known for its waves, but I still managed to go surfing now and then, and I did trips to France and Portugal and Spain. So yeah, it was that was actually a little in between. I really started picking up surfing when I stopped collecting synths. So it was for me like a new way to experience things.
That is really, really, really cool. Now, as we start to wrap things up in this podcast, you've talked about your experimenting with hip hop music. You're now releasing tracks in synthwave. Your debut album has done so well. You're now a father. But what would you say to your 16-year-old self, looking back at how far you've come? If you could send advice to the past, you're now the future kids, and you want to send advice back to your 16-year-old self. I mean, I find it quite fitting as we are talking about the future kids after all.
Yeah. It's a good question. I don't think I would change anything or say anything specific. I would just say trust yourself, and I don't know. I think I've been pretty lucky in my life, so I get to do what I love, and that's also what I would say to myself. And don't worry so much.
I love that, man. I really, really do. And congratulations on all your success.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And lastly, before we end things, what's next for the Future Kids project? What does 2021 have in store? Can listeners expect new singles, music videos, live streams, etc.? Anything?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of working on a live-ish live-ish performance. From I think I would do a few songs. Because I'm also trying to gear up for when the situation improves, and as you know, Outland organizes live events, and that is really my goal to bring my music live. So that's something you can expect. As for new music, I really don't write music very easily. I'm really slow, so I'm going. It's going, but I don't know when or what will happen.
Well, slow and steady wins the race, as they say.
Yeah. I think you should. I don't want to release music I'm not 100% behind. I want it to be really good, because with the album I made, I really love listening to it. And I want the next album to be the same.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll wrap things up. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, Herman. It was quite a nostalgic ride discussing all those tracks.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Before we share each other's social media, I noticed a few people online asking about where your Instagram account went. So as a bonus question before we go off the air, what's the story behind the Instagram account? Just so
Yeah. So my Instagram account got deleted or removed or temporarily, I don't know. But I think it has to do with the fact that my kid is on the tablet all the time, and I think he installed something, an app or some malware that took my passwords, and I think my account got hacked because I made a second account, and it also got removed, and I didn't do anything with it. So it's just gone.
Wow. Well, I mean, that answers the question.
But I obviously I will try to get it up again, but I'm not sure how to do it.
All right. So speaking of your social medias, then, where can everyone find all your material? Because I mean, every synthwave artist, like I said at the beginning of this, needs to hear Lost Summer.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had a website made. I'm a little old school, and it's thefuturekidsmusic.com. I paid a lot of money for it, so you should definitely check it out. Everything's on there.
Sweet. Yeah, I have seen your website. You know what? Old school or not, I love classic websites, and I think your website's gorgeous. I love the layout. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we put a lot of time into it, but actually the amount of visitors doesn't really justify the expense. But I'm like, I'm only releasing a debut album once in my life, and I had to wait for it 20 years, so I might as well have a website made.
And as for our socials, you can find us at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Instagram under Lotus M Productions. We're on Spotify under LMP Music, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. So with all that, this has been LMP Music. Please be safe. Please be kind to one another. And with that, we are signing off.